This meeting is being recorded. Recording does not constitute the official record of this meeting. All documents from this meeting are available on the school board page of the district website. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Any revisions to the agenda?
I would just, I didn't get here quickly enough, but I would present the kid to come today.
Oh, okay.
Is what you're gonna see in January is simple.
What is that? Just
I
reporting,
just wanted to have the kids come and talk to us.
talk about what they did?
Extracurriculars. And
I think that's great. When is an interactive? That's what did you say?
I mean, I can get interact. I was looking for extracurriculars. These are.
I know an extracurricular.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get you, but it'll be in the spring.
Public
That's the only
comment. Oops, sorry. Okay, thank you. Public comment on non-agenda items. Take none. Move on to the approval of minutes, please.
I move to approve the minutes from November 11th and November 17th of 2025.
Second,
Any discussion? Call for vote. All those in favor?
I,
Any opposed? That's unanimously. Let's move on to superintendent report.
So,
Schumann.
yeah, I sent this out and I gave it to you too. It's sitting in front of you. You might want to take a second time to look at. I just think this was interesting, extremely interesting. I gave one principles there too. The enrollment trends across our county, across Madison County, the private school enrollment dialed down to numbers. And as you look, I meant to put page 2 is back to back. And page 2 is probably the most interesting, was the most interesting for me because it showed the 10-year changes. And so, the 10-year change in Manhattan, Three Forks and Marquardt schools were the only 3 schools that increased over the last 3 years at the K-8 level. And you can also see right at the bottom bar, every high school went up.
as they move through.
Right? And again, I don't know what conclusions we can draw really without digging probably deeper. The one thing that did jump out at me though, and I just mentioned it earlier, is our K-8, if you look at our K-8 from 2020 and 2022 forward, I think just that significant drop between last year and this year. And we have that we know where most of those kids went, but that was significant. And then our high school, obviously we're 24% increase over a decade looks great. But it's really, it's a net 20 students.
So when you project out, when does the drop below start to affect us?
To project this out now, we can run some models. Well, we kind of know, right? So we look for our high school in 2 years, probably to be back to the 24 number. Let's say if nothing
Because you have
changed.
that big class now.
We have one big group coming up.
Yeah.
Then
So
as
the
we
anomaly.
look back, right, then we can see that it's gonna start kind of having some effect. We'll be right around 98 to 100, I would say, in 6.
That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like.
Ballpark.
And then, when we look at Madison County, really, like Ennis, they're just kind of slowly moving up. That's just that next page, that looks like this. It's not colorful at all. For fiscal year 21, 411 to 422 to 432 to 448 to 454 this year. Just real steady.
Private schools here.
Real steady movement. Yep. And then
Thanks for doing this. This is super interesting.
yeah, and I would love to take credit, but the county superintendent.
Well,
Um,
it's good to see what he's actually.
yeah, so then the last page of this particular piece of my report is private school enrollment across the county.
So then we can know exactly what we know.
Yeah, so there's currently 37 plus 16, 53 kids,
That are in private school.
just K-8.
Well, and then the high school's pretty small.
No, I'm sorry, just K-12,
Okay.
and because they pulled out preschool.
Oh, good.
So the preschool is that first line, but that doesn't show up in the aggregate.
Never heard of. So many of these must be brand new. I mean, there's no sense.
Yeah, a lot of them are new.
Well,
And obviously they're pulling all this data because they're looking at changing the funding.
No,
Does that
actually,
go hand in hand with that?
this just happens every year.
Okay, I remember saying this.
Always
Teacher
based
did.
on the old county superintendent didn't do it.
Okay, that's it.
well, it's really.
Just based
good
on the
to
official
know.
counts.
Yeah.
It's good to know what it is. And have we lost any, I know I've heard somebody moved, but
Yeah, we had one move. I mean, I know one family just bought a house somewhere else too, but we've picked up 7 in the last week and next January, yeah. And then put the current level January, where we've actually picked up quite a few for the winter season, the ski season for parents to get public.
But they don't.
They'll count as a.
they count as a house.
If they're here, that can not ski.
Well, if they're here, right, we have some cushion on either side
What
of
day
that
is
for account.
Like,
It's this first Tuesday in February.
they go from the first Tuesday, when the
It's the
second
first-
semester starts.
Yes, it's the first Tuesday in October, first Tuesday in February for the official count.
Then do they leave in the spring or do they stay?
Some of them stay almost until the very end, some leave the spring breaks, kind of
Yeah.
depends on them.
How does that work? Is that disruptive to the teachers? Or is, I mean, we can't do anything about it. People might say they're moving.
Right, there are little.
Curious how that feels.
We're used to it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Kids
is
are
it,
used to it, the teachers are pretty used
so
to
they just
it.
are people that are like transient people coming. Okay, I'm used to that.
Yeah,
Transient.
Yeah, they were the students.
And then the second part of my presentation, of the report has to do with the funding interim commission, we're gonna have there. I guess I project this here to just kind of talk it through a little bit with you guys, and as I started to do the numbers, I'm gonna have to, we're gonna have to, at least somebody from the board and myself get a little more involved in this. Because it's certainly not unfolding in the way I anticipated that it would. And that the way some of the people thought it would. So this is the document that the camps has set out. And that stands for the Coalition of Advocates for Montana Public Schools. So, and it's made up of the associations from school administrators, Montana School Boards Association, the Rural Education Association, Montana Quality Education Council, and then the Montana Association of School Business Officials. And so they're feeling like they feel pretty good about what you have sitting in front of you, which I shared today. So I ran the numbers, double checked the numbers. And if the current funding formula that they're proposing was in place today, we'd be $500,000 less than what we got in fiscal year 26. And it's due to a number of factors. They're putting big multipliers on things that we already don't get much money for, like at-risk students.
And they is,
This particular group, this coalition that really wields a lot of influence. So they're really increasing these they're putting these multipliers on monies that are already very low for us. So, right, one of them's 15 times the current at-risk payment, we get $900. That's $9,000. That's, whatever that is. It's 14 grand. That's nothing to us. Whereas a school like West, their at-risk payment is probably 22,000. Or schools that are functioning above 50% free and reduced lunch, their at-risk factor is, their current payment is really pretty large already. So when you put a 15 multiplier on it, it's really meaningful.
That's a way to help those schools that have lower income
Right.
or, yeah.
Well, they make this statement at the beginning, which is interesting, that the constraints were predicated on the flawed assumption that per pupil spending was the singular indicator of both adequacy and equity in education. This assumption is no longer tenable. So that's an interesting and pretty powerful.
Because the per pupil even gets reduced slightly. Because all the other multipliers. So I guess I bring this to you because there also seems to be a little bit of appetite with some people in the community to try to do something legislatively for communities that just fall outside of what I would call a normal rural Montana community. Like maybe to start to work with some lobbyists to try to get some senators or representatives on board to just write something similar to what we did with Ennis that's really specific to communities like ours, like the Whitefishes, that other town up there.
What would
Big
that?
Four,
What would that mean though? Because like, it sounds to me like you're saying this is leaning towards addressing more at-risk schools. And, as I seem to often say around town, people just don't feel sorry for people in Big Sky in general. They don't feel sorry for our school. They don't feel sorry for the taxes we pay. They don't feel sorry for rich people, which is how it is perceived.
sure,
So it feels
Yeah.
like we are it's in it. Look at our building, look at what our kids get.
sure, in
I just
100%.
wonder about, I'm not saying that it's wrong, I'm just wondering
I mean,
politically.
I
how
think
we
it's,
do that.
yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely worth the conversation because there is also, right, there's a significant amount of taxes from our tax base that goes to statewide equalization and we'll continue to support that. At least, so you can work one-offs because last year the bill, it ended up being $3, whatever it was, so we can get the reconciliation payments from Ennis. That was written specifically for school districts with a taxable value of, north of 140 million, which we both fall into. I don't think we want to go, I wouldn't want to go and say, oh, poor us. I would just want to be able to go and say, to the interim commission at least needs to hear.
How it
We're
impacts.
looking at a $500,000
Yeah.
decrease.
And that's a good argument.
And the $500,000, mind you, is inclusive of a $330,000 vote of your local constituents in an already highly taxed constituency. So that's kind of the kicker at the end is you can get 10% of your quality what was it, Corky QA?
Your quality educator payments.
So school funding just becomes called quality assurance. So every school can provide a quality education. You can get 10% above that if your voters agree, which, at 330,000 on this year's budget, that's a lot of money from an already highly taxed constituency. So I think is what they need to hear is, yeah, great, but you're to represent every single school district. And, there are Cora Newlands on the commission. Sure, she's one of our local representatives. She should be able to carry some message for us.
Yeah,
So I guess I put this all out there that, a year ago, I was quite excited about this group getting together and I'm still excited, but in a different way. That I think I'm gonna start to insert myself and probably try to utilize some community resources for help.
I have a question, Dustin, I was anticipating something different, which is what with seeing all these private schools, what's the risk of a move to try to, from the private schools to try to get their tuition dollars?
Like a full-on kind of voucher type
Yeah, the
system.
vouchers.
I mean, I think the risk for the attempt is there.
Yeah.
I think there's still not even with what I would call the conservative government that we have in place in Montana right now. It's not to the point where that's gonna be up for discussion for at least 2 sessions.
Okay, that's good to know.
Well, they just came,
I
it
mean,
just,
Gianforte started private schools.
right, but I just got the
It's like-
email right now before this meeting started. That the special ed savings account, which was gonna be similar to a voucher system, but for special education, was just declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in the state. of Michigan.
Interesting.
So, the short answer is it will come eventually, but it'll be
Take a while.
6 to 8 years probably.
Did anyone happen to hear the autism story on the Daily? It was just about how many more, the incredible amounts of higher need for special ed. It was quite interesting and how. So I would recommend it because I hadn't thought, they said there's the competition to get the accommodations and to actually be declared that. And then you have kids that have really severe autism and it is a spectrum. And the schools they're spending so much on the kids on the one side of the spectrum, which is easier, and not having the money to address, kids who will never be able to live alone, for instance, for some, it's fascinating. Just thinking of special ed and.
In the numbers of special education students and students, protected under the rehabilitation 504 is increasing significantly, not just for us.
Across the country.
Yeah.
That's what it was talking about. It was saying it used to be that people didn't want the designation. And now it's helpful. They actually tied it to early academics being difficult for kids. So they wanted their kids to get an accommodation to make it easier. You might find it really interesting. And so people sought it earlier than perhaps needed. And it doesn't have a stigma. And you just get more and more diagnosed, it's very expensive. Go on, thought I'd share that.
So I,
Thank you.
that's kind of
Yeah, WVP, but I moving.
yeah, and if anybody would like to help with that, just let me know. I know Matt, you were pretty well last year with us.
Yeah, I love that stuff, so I'd be more than happy. Great, any other questions? Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Move on to the Mitchell.
Great. Academics, we have high school finals, second week of January when we come back after break, and the schedule went out in our newsletter before Thanksgiving and to go out. We have the holiday book stroll this Friday. James is organizing with middle schoolers, 6th and 7th grade, which is this Friday at 9:30 in the STEAM wing. Want to come by? Student life, grade 8, as we already discussed, is off in Yellowstone. Things are going well. I talked to Dr. Isley this morning, and she really just did a great job organizing the kids, getting them excited for this trip. So I'm really excited for them. Grade 10 returned before Thanksgiving break from their DC trip. And from all accounts, it was an extraordinary learning experience. So a big shout out to Mr. Coppola and Felder and taking our kiddos. Middle schoolers began their second trimester clubs and specials. Middle school student council is leaving a toy drive for Rotary, I believe. And then we're gearing up for ski days next month. All right. I know. Hopefully there's.
Every single thing that's slid.
Yeah.
Everything is slid.
So I can believe it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's it. We're just in the middle of tenured evaluations and moving ahead.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Move on to elementary, please.
We just wrapped up our first MAST testing window. That's the cross-year measure from the state of Montana. And we got 100% completion of all testlets. The number of testlets varies from grade level to grade level, but even in middle school, we nailed them all. So that was really exciting. And that first window's over. Parent teacher conferences went really well. We had really great turnout from the families, really good conversations. We're going to approve our plan for coverage in the second grade classroom, I think, later on in the meeting, but I wanted to recognize Laura McPherson, who has done an amazing job to step up and support these kiddos up to this point. Being in her classroom, and you're a foundations teacher now, and you're an amplified world, just the language that she uses and the way she picked it up so quickly was really great. And then we just had our data meetings today with every teacher in the classroom to just look specifically at kiddos who might be struggling and how we're going to support them as we enter into the winter break. And then it's tricky because we get back and then we start mid-year assessments. So just looking closely at what those supports look like. And then Mrs. Jenks, let the spelling bee last week for our district. All of our kiddos had a lot of fun preparing for that and a lot of courageous kids on the stage. So, sure, it'll be fun.
Take a lot of nerve. Definitely. Great, thank you very much. Activities at all?
Yep, boys and girls basketball, they're both undefeated.
Love it.
Boys middle school is finishing up, and girls will be starting, girls middle school basketball will be starting January 5th. And, yeah, both boys and girls got off to a great start, so won their first games against Gardner. And then we had a couple busy weekends,
Yeah.
and then a break into, and we're really into it, when we come back from the break. We needed the season.
Great. Thank you. Business managers report.
I just have the short, actually, just keeping up with everything, payroll, paying the bills, bringing in the money, you know? A lot with the fingerprinting is taking a lot of time right now, which is coming up later, and really that's it, just kind of keeping rolling, staying on the timeline for the election, just has some turning in things that you need to keep doing to stay on time for that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. No committee reports I see really. As of now, we'll move on to discussion and action items, please.
I move to hire certified staff for the remainder of the second grade for maternity leave. No, wait. Oh, approve Susie Hopper for the second grade long-term sub. Much easier way to say it.
Second,
This, that was a lot.
Yeah, that's
Lives here a
someone speak for me.
significant experience teaching in elementary schools. She kicked the can for a week, which made us a little nervous, but has agreed. I think she started right after break.
How long?
And she just wants to give back.
that's awesome.
She does, but
14.
I can tell you, Les, her husband serves with me, and they are traveling all the time. That's probably why she kicks.
She has a perfect window,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna say, what is the end?
It's the
Because
perfect
those
window, spring
guys,
break.
he's been in person maybe for one meeting. And it's like Tahiti. So just saying, I was like, that's exciting. I haven't met them, but
Well,
I'm glad they're
glad
the
we got-
end
yeah.
of ski season.
She
because
said
I'm sure-
it perfectly in her travel schedule.
Yeah, it's okay.
We're like, we'll take it.
Perfect.
Any other questions, discussion? Call for a vote, all those in favor?
I
Any opposed? Pass unanimously.
I motion to approve the volunteers as presented.
Second.
So I put the list of volunteers in the consent agenda or in the packet. This would generally be consent, but I want to clear it up so we can talk about this. The last session, they really tightened up child protective rules for us, and then we also adopted a policy that all people who are going to be working individually or in a group setting without one of our background checked employees present needs to either be fingerprint background checked or they can't do that. So actually, the resort came to us because they have to follow the same kind of for some of the things they do. They have a lesser standard, so they do a name background check. So through many back and forth is what we've come to. Is Libby has been going up during their training meetings and getting their fingerprints done, and we run them through the same process. Because it was that, or we had three choices. Try to have employees cover everything, which is impossible. Parent volunteers,
Yeah.
that would have been impossible too, and we would have been in the same boat, or no PA.
Yeah.
In all three of those could have worked. So we came up with this. There is a cost associated with the fingerprint report, and we'll just pass that on to the DTO.
Nice.
And then we'll keep, our hope is, at least from conversations with Kristen and Matt, that a lot of these are people who work for them for some time. So maybe next year it might be 2 or 3 or 5. but it won't be such a significant list, and we only do our teachers or our employees upon employment.
You don't continue to update it.
We don't.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
And they-
That's correct. They have a lot of returning since.
And we don't, and so we'll use the same kind of, we'll use the same threshold that we use to whether you can work with our students or not based on the FBI check. We don't have that in policy, like if a person's done this, then this happens. But, you know, we make judgments along the way, like, you know, certainly if there was a crime against children, you would never even be considered, but, you know, disturbing the peace from 1972 would not be a big deal.
Yeah.
Right, or you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say we use discretion, we use common sense.
Yeah.
Informed common sense.
Yeah.
How much is each background check?
How much do they cost? $30.
Yeah, $30.
Yeah.
So what if these people can't make it and have to like cancel or something?
It sounded to me, at least from what Kristen and Matt said, so we've also put all of their managers in this group. So contained within this group is management, and they'll sub.
So Christine and
So like if you needed somebody, I couldn't be like, oh, I can do that today.
You
Yeah.
personally,
I could just because I was,
you've been background checked for basketball.
yeah.
I've been background checked.
You've been background checked. Actually, you've all been background checked. You've been background checked.
Supplements.
Yeah.
Because
That's what I say, you know, like, I would assume that we're gonna miss,
John.
like have a shortage at some point in time. Hopefully not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so all of you have been background checked for some work with the students.
Yeah, okay.
A very interesting reading.
Mine was pretty boring, I can guarantee that.
So that's like in West on the EY, the Rangers are all probably background checked.
No, because they're not alone.
They're never with them.
Because they have our chaperone.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so like we have a significant number of moms who come in and work with our students, and they just grab the student and maybe go to that table. So they're not alone
Isolated.
outside of,
Yeah.
outside of our purview. And the mentors are all background checked. Anybody who's gonna be alone with.
I
the
do
student.
hear, and they are alone, and I actually, when I saw this, I texted Christina and said, don't we background check everybody? She said, we background check, we don't fingerprint,
You do name only.
we do name only.
Okay.
And because I was like, that's a searing gap if we do. So I was asking from the resort thing, just out of curiosity, she said, name, but not fingerprint.
Any other questions? No. Call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Push for the consent agenda.
I motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Discussion on any of that?
What's Vera gonna do?
Just help with the
Okay.
basketball all the time.
Nice. But,
Yeah.
call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimously. Future dates, 13th January, we get back from break. And yeah, February. 10th, Tuesday there. Look at that. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.